Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Education and asks, what decisions has she made on schools' operational funding?
Mr Speaker, the primary decision I've made on schools' operational funding was to provide an additional $80.1 million over 4 years into schools' operational grants in Budget 2009. I've also told the Ministry to stop the previous government's practice of wasting money on WhatsApp badges and anti-bullying word fines that sit in the corner of classrooms unused so that we can get more money out to schools.
Hon Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, why did she decide to give new Wharekura base operational funding of $50,000 compared to the $130,000 base funding that a Pākehā school with the same number of students will get?
Tolley.
I would refer that question to the Minister of Māori Affairs, who's the Associate Minister of Māori Affairs, who has responsibility for Wharekura. But if the member cares to put it down in writing, I will ensure that he will get an answer.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I have in my hand the decisions signed by that Minister on this question. She can't do that.
Order. The member knows that it's up to ministers to determine who is responsible for certain matters that I can't as Speaker. The member has supplementary questions to. If he thinks the minister's answer is wrong, the minister can easily frame a question that can make that a very sharp issue. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. I think you know that the opposition has limited questions, and for a minister to say in an answer something which is patently untrue because she signed the document.
The member must not use a point of order to allege a minister has said something that's untrue. I mean, question time doesn't always flow exactly as members might expect it to flow. Supplementary questions that are asked should relate to answers given. The minister has given an answer that appears to the member to be pretty controversial. He can now therefore test that answer further with supplementary questions. That's what question time is all about. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Did her Associate Minister Peter Sharples agree to her discriminatory funding decision which values white children's education more highly than brown?
Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I find that comment highly offensive. This government is working very closely with the Māori Party and my Associate Minister of Education to ensure that all Māori children, whether they are in mainstream or in Wharekura, get an excellent education. I have made the offer to that member. If he cares to put his question down in writing, I will ensure that he gets an answer to it.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Did she, on the 27th of January this year, make a decision to fund Wharekura 50,000 base funding when a white kids' school would get 130?
The Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I do not have that piece of paper in front of me. I do not have the details of the decision that was made. If the member had wished to get specific answers, then he should have put down in the primary question so that I could have brought it to the House with me.
Question of Louise Upston.
Supplementary to the Minister of Education. What other decisions has the government made that has increased operational funding to schools?
Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, in August 2009, the Prime Minister launched Kiwi Sport, delivering on this government's promise to put money directly into the front line to help more New Zealand children participate in organised sport. Kiwi Sport will provide $45 million in operational funding direct to schools over the next 4 years.
Question of point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Speaker, I'm seeking to table the document entitled Education Report Change of Class Applications, which is signed, I think, about 9 times by the Minister of Education.
The member mentions the document, the name.
It's a Ministry of Education document approved by the Minister of Education about 9 or 10 times.
Leave us sort of table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 10, Chris Ockenbach.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Climate...
Order. I apologise, Honourable Member. Point of order, Te Roroa Flavia.
Mr Speaker, I've listened to the comments made by the Honourable Trevor Mallard with respect to brown schools and white schools, which indicate in a sense, in the context of the discussion, that kura kaupapa Māori wharekura are only for, perhaps, Māori children.
Order.
And I find it offensive.
No, order. The member will resume his seat immediately. The member will resume his seat. Is the member wanting me to intervene? Is the member personally offended by a statement? Sorry, I apologise to the member. He needs to make it more clear, though, what his
Thank you,
point
sir.
of order is.
Against that background, I'd ask that I do find it offensive, and I ask that member withdraw and apologise.
Order. A point of order is being considered. I think what would be reasonable for me to do as Speaker is to ask the member to desist from that, because to ask him to withdraw and apologise for something that doesn't directly relate to...
Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, there's been a Speaker's ruling on this matter once before. It related to a small skirmish between myself and Mr Tamahiri, and I most willingly made a withdrawal and apology on that occasion. I think it is appropriate.
I'll hear the Honourable Te Raro Flavel first and further, and then I will rule on the matter.
So the point I'm making is that kura kaupapa Māori have open entry to tamariki, to children of this country, Māori, Pākehā or others, and therefore the inference is that it's only for Māori children. Thus the apology.
The member is introducing debating material into a matter where he's claimed that what the Honourable Trevor Mallard said he took personal offence to. But where I've got a dilemma is I don't believe I can ask the member to withdraw and apologise for his description or his language during the asking of the question, because I don't believe he was making a personal reflection on anyone, and I've got to be careful not to simply rule out things willy-nilly. I'd just ask the member to be careful in describing situations in the future. Point of order, the Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, there were words used there that I can understand Mr Flavel taking exception to, most notably the suggestion that it was discriminatory. Now, I think if someone has taken offence, it's not unreasonable in matters particularly of this sort of sensitivity that there is a withdrawal and apology.
But no, I'm not going to waste further time. I shouldn't use that language, actually. It's a matter that has created some concern in the House. But the thing is that the members expressed concern that the Honourable Trevor Mallard reflected on kura kaupapa Māori incorrectly, that kura kaupapa Māori the members pointing out, are available to all New Zealanders. Now, this is a debating issue. That's not really an issue of personal offence. There's been no personal reflection on anyone. The member actually may have made a mistake in implying that kura kaupapa Māori were only available to New Zealanders of certain ethnic background, and that's what I would ask him to be more careful in the future. But he wasn't making a personal reflection on any member of this House, and that's why I don't believe I can ask him to withdraw and apologise. I've just got to be careful not to, make this place too precious. But had it been a personal reflection on the honourable member, it would have been a totally different matter. Question number 10, Chris Ockenvold.
Thank you, Mr